Welcome, everyone. It's the Your Little Castle show. A castle is not complete unless it's got a beautiful lawn, a great garden, and some awesome landscaping. Is that true?
I think it would make a castle look better.
Welcome, Mark Flush, to the studio, everybody. The owner of Lawns Gardens Landscaping, lawnsgardenslandscaping.com. We had to get an expert in here to talk about this because this is the time of year, isn't it? I mean, maybe you start sooner than this, but this will go on. How long is the lawn care landscaping season? When does it kick in? And when
It will start at the end of February in St. Louis region, and it will go all the way till November.
Okay, so there's a full season of landscaping that can be done there, and then people kind of, I guess, relax a little bit over the winter.
Yeah.
But
some people relax a lot.
that's part of the cush for the job. You get to do that. Well, we wanted to talk to an expert today that has experience with. You've been doing this now for 20 years.
20 plus.
And now you've had your own company for a long time and helping the St. Louis community and what you get to do here to make houses look beautiful on the outside.
Yeah, it's about beautifying the property, maintaining it. Most people don't want to maintain it, so they hire us to maintain it.
Well, that's what we like to see. All right. Why did you decide to get into this? What caused you to say, I want to
It kind of found me. I did everything technology with multimedia, video editing, websites, graphics. And then I figured out, well, I don't want to be in front of a screen and around technology too much. So I applied the design skills to landscaping.
There you go. So now you've got that computer background with technical, making things look square and perfect.
Yeah.
But you apply that to what the real world deals with on the outside.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty exciting. All right. Well, then tell me, what is a personal hobby that kind of helped you develop this interest over the years that kind of led you here? Would you say anything?
I can see a few things. Grandparents with a garden, or playing soccer, the smell of the grass. Lots of aspects that kind of kick in as subconscious to love it.
Yeah, so you kind of grew up around that and saw
Yeah.
beautiful landscape and said, hey, man, I want to help homes to do this for what they make their
And plus,
place.
growing up in the country and the city,
Gotcha.
back and forth. Yeah.
All right. A little travel between the two. Tell me then, how long have you've been in the business now, doing this for 20 years? Why do you think that experience offers so much for people to benefit from? Because I can imagine we're going to talk about the mistake that people make. A lot of times there's always some mistake that professionals hear or see people do, but that experience helps you to do these things right. What are some of the things that expertise gives you?
The expertise gives you knowledge of plants and different trees and aspects of certain trees go next to a property, certain trees do not go next to a property. How to get rid of the weeds out of the lawn, all kinds of details that make a landscape stand out.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. How to get the weeds gone from a lawn. I knew we'd get to break out this pencil quick. So when you take note, Mark, I told him, I said, actually, here's something that is important that you're talking about. But how many people, I just cut my yard, and I was looking at my neighbor's yard, and I got these big, they look like cabbage. I mean, this is a
clovers,
weed. Yeah, this is a weed that I didn't want in my yard, but I have them. Yeah. And that's why, if there's a way you could tell me the expert way to get rid of these things. Boy,
it's a application once every 2 months, and just overseeding a couple times a year, and you just have to do the weed kill once every couple months, and then it'll get it under control.
Okay, that and dandelions are a big thing. Like how often people get dandelions?
Oh, a lot. And it's just the wind, it's the birds, it's the weather moves everything around.
Kind of everybody fighting against you there because the little seeds turn into those things that just blow you. You blow out the whole dandelion and they just send the seeds all over the place. I got you. All right. Well, I can tell you those are some big things a lot of people need help with because I've dealt with that myself. I did overseeding one time a couple years ago. Had a bunch of bare spots, threw in some seeding, and then the next year it looked great. That's not as complicated. But if you really want it to look good, that's where we want you on here to talk about this. People can hire you, obviously. You've been doing this for a long time. What is it about your business that fuels your passion when it comes down to this? You wake up every day. We talked a little bit about that in our pregame prep in the bullpen. What is it that fuels your passion about it?
It's seeing the end result. So a retaining wall, water solutions, and seeing the beauty of the wall, or the plants that are planted around the property, and redesigning the property for the client, putting that in the software so they can see what it will look like when we're done. The finished product of creating new beds, everything that just beautifies the property, just seeing that.
Wow, so you've got some design software that allows them to get a preemptive view of what they're going to have, and it's like an AutoCAD for the outdoors.
Kinda, yeah.
And so they can say, you want it to look like this? Cool, here's where that, we'll put that tree over here, move this
Yeah.
mulch over here, and they can all preview this and show it. So technology, we're going to talk about technology a little bit, but these are the things that you bring to the table so people can really get a good feel for what the work you're going to do.
And that's a great example of what technology does right there. That landscape software, that's a huge factor in a client seeing what their property is going to look like.
Well, let's take a look here. You've got some great looking work. I'm going to put these up on the wall for everybody. So we go for our wide shot here. We got all of our TV walls here in our studio, and I should have this ready to go for us up over here. There is your Facebook page, but you've got another page here available that allows people to see some of the work you've done. Talk to me about what this is up on the wall here. This is pretty cool. I have to acknowledge that that's like you got a putting green in somebody's house. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I went to do a estimate, and I thought it was going to be redesign of planting and bushes and making the landscape, and then the client wanted a putting green.
Now, is that natural grass, or what kind of is it?
It is when you go to a golf course and you have the pro turf when you're getting ready to go to before hole one. Most golf courses have turf that's not real grass.
Okay.
Until you go to hole 1 through 18.
Right.
So that's an example of a driving range, a putting course, and it was oblong, 36 feet by 26 by 23 by 13. And
seems like you've memorized this one. You've worked on it.
And it was a fun project. It's one of the funner projects I've done. 4 inches of gravel for drainage, and it's so compact when you put the turf over it and frame it with wood, and it just doesn't move.
That is dynamite looking. So this is just one example of some of the work that you can show people that stuff you've done, but that looks dynamite, and they've got that whole thing set up there. I'm gonna go back over to your main page here, and there were some pictures here that I noticed, and it looks like some of those. Tell me if any of these you would like us to highlight. I like this. If I can pick one, that's a pretty good looking.
That was for a client in Jefferson County. Very difficult, clay, rock. It backbreaking to get just 4 inches below the surface to get the base of the stone. And it's a 2-tier retaining wall / flower bed. And it just prevents the hill on the house and beautifies the property and makes it easier to have plants.
Okay.
So
right, yeah, that's obviously what you're setting up for, and you can put together some. What do you call that? That's kind of a patio.
Demolition of a patio, and then the patio was the stone was reused to create a gazebo, and it was a fun project in South City.
Okay, yeah. So you serve the whole St. Louis metro area, and there's some examples.
Every affluent municipality in St. Louis.
Okay, gotcha. And as I scroll through it, but these are the pictures that everybody can see right here on your Facebook page if they do a search on Facebook. And I'm going to take a look at these steps. Look pretty good, and you've got some work on shrubs, and then these pieces you put here in the bottom. How did this come together?
A client called me in South City, and they wanted the landscape redesigned with the bushes and the plants, and some correction with some of the stone edging. And we just redid the beds, and unfortunately, over time, the steps kind of. I mean, that's probably 20 years.
I say, yeah, you didn't put in the steps.
So you
were building everything around that.
Yeah.
Okay, good looking work here. And again, these are all examples. You've got your website and etc. But another angle for that looks like it's a little more of the same kind of path that you designed for the steps they've got there to go out to their little backyard area.
Yeah, that used to be weeds and grass, and we did weed berry underneath it so no weeds would grow through the stone and through the mulch, and put it all down and laid it down, and yeah.
Very good looking stuff. All right, as I continue on here, I'm just going to go through a few more of these pictures because this is where we really get to see your expertise, and I like a lot of what you've done here because there's a lot of work that goes in. How many hours of work goes into these kinds of jobs?
They'll range from a day up to 2 weeks, depending on the size of the project.
All right, is this another one here? There's a good looking, a lot of. Now, how do those rocks come about? Those cut obviously.
The stone.
Stones. That's what I meant.
The stone is a choice from Site One landscaping products, and Site One used to be Kirkwood Supply.
Okay.
And there's a lot of Site Ones now. There's Site One Fenton, and they probably have one of the best selections of landscaping
materials. Okay, gotcha. And I'm going to look over a couple more here. With I saw you've got kind of a unique setup here.
That was a fun project for the Gregorio family, and if you look at the before picture, it was just a mess, and they wanted a Roman grotto garden. We had an artist come in and do a old style Italian countryside, and then we put in the Roman column design, just using blocks, and the client wanted to give advice as we went along. I mean, they were hands in, and it was fun. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, now is that on the hill actually, where they built this?
That's actually in South County.
Okay,
yeah.
But they're fans of the hill, so they put the.
They grew up on the hill.
Okay.
The Gregorio family.
Oh, I get. Okay, the name makes sense there. Yeah. But yeah, another great example of some of your work. Well, tell me then, as you get into this, what are some of the biggest things you've learned from doing these construction? I mean, can only imagine. There's sometimes you're like, people like, do it this way, and you're like, no, let me tell you what the problem is there, because if you try that, this thing's going to collapse, or water's going to run in. Yes. What are some of the problems that people do run into that you've helped them?
It's the unknowns when they want something done, and it doesn't matter if you're in the county or the city. There's just some unknowns in the ground.
Okay.
So you're going to find too much rock, and it's more difficult than anticipated, more hours. And especially in South City, you're going to find old structure, whether it's an old patio, old walkways that were just buried over time, and it makes it difficult to do projects. So it takes, and then the client's shocked because it takes an extra week or extra few days, and that's time is money.
And so this is very often because of the
labor, yeah.
pre-existing stuff that you've got to tear out. Is that often what the case is, or
yeah,
level it, or how does that work?
It's about leveling and tearing it out, because if it's mixed with the soil, and you're trying to do a patio or trying to get things correct, you have to do a lot of different things to get it ready, get it right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I've done some landscaping myself, and you could tell it was done by a non-professional. As you look at it, you're like, why did that collapse that way? Why is that leaning down? You'll talk to a friend of mine. He says, "Oh, because you're supposed to put rock below that first," or those kinds of.
Yeah, there's a process. Yeah, it's about pavers, gravel, sand, leveling the base, and being a few inches, or up to sometimes larger walls, many inches or feet to start the base, and if the base isn't right, the wall's not going to be right.
Okay. Well, that will be a problem, because we don't want a wall that's lopsided or sinking or leaning. We're not trying to build the Leaning Tower of Pisa here.
And it's easy to do a 3 to 5 foot wall or below. When it gets above that, you have to do engineering specs, because there's too much weight of the earth pushing against the wall. So if you don't get the engineer specs with the municipalities, it's going to cause a lot of harm to the property.
Wow. So you could actually do an improvement and devalue your house, because they're going to come in and tear things out and say you're causing a wall to collapse because it causes structure. And then
you could take a piece of earth, whether you're in the St. Louis City or the county, and on a hot day, throw it on the concrete, and it will expand double its size. So that's why whenever walls start collapsing, it's because the soil will expand and push up against the wall.
Okay. These are things that you would not know unless you've got years and years of experience to do this. Well, tell me, what if there was one thing you would offer that you think really sets you apart from the rest? There's some other landscapers in the area, I would imagine. What do you do better than the rest? What really sets you apart?
Final details and the care to make it look as perfect as possible. Can't make perfect, but you can get excellence, if you know that where that phrase came from.
Okay. And it's just a matter of taking the time to put this in, learning how to do this, because there's obviously all the years of experience.
Yeah.
And without having that kind of a background, this is where what's the biggest mess you walked in where somebody said, well, we've built this ourselves and it looks like we don't know what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. And you had to come in, and what do you do there normally? You tear the whole thing apart? What's the process for that?
Well, the ones that you're talking about, it's such a mess, it's too costly. So clients look at the cost of doing that project, and they're just not ready to do it. So that's happened quite a few times.
And what's the solution there?
Solution is, I've seen clients sell the property. I've seen clients just not do anything with it, just let it subsist.
Wow. And now you've really decreased the value of a house or a property, right?
Yeah.
So the house is listed at $250, and they're saying, yeah, I'll buy it from you, but it's going to cost $30,000 to fix this, so we'll give you $220.
And sometimes I've had a few clients that responded to the advice and did a couple projects that fixed it too.
Yeah, so you come in and can also take care of the problem for people too, to say, let me show you, we can do this. We can adjust things a little differently, not necessarily if you've got a certain budget. How often do you have to adjust to somebody's budget? Is that always what's at stake there? I mean, you're going to say, okay, here's what we're going to do, but you're going to have to change this, or you can't do that, or how often do you fit into somebody's budget? You have to make those adjustments.
That'll happen quite a bit. So coming in and looking at an area that the client wants things done, it kind of turns out where you're having a discussion back and forth about possibilities and ways to decrease the cost, and if you do it this way, this increases the cost. So there's solutions of cheaper rock, cheaper stone, ways to alleviate, do a different design that's going to be less labor. So you got to look at all kinds of aspects for the client.
Okay. Well, then tell me along those lines, what's a big mistake that people make? Because I'm always worried about the do-it-yourselfer. Is that something that causes problem? You mentioned something earlier.
I've had a few clients that just thought they could do it themselves. You know.
And then when they messed it up, and then they call you and say, all right.
I don't think they called me, but I know they called somebody.
Right, they had somebody come with it. But what would you say then is the biggest mistake people make? Oh, you talked about a tree. Okay, tell me about that.
Oh, wow. Trees, if you let them sit and rot, that's going to be a big problem with the property. Certain trees you don't want to plant next to your house. For example, silver maple, you don't want those next to your property. And there's examples of different trees and trees that you do want next to your house. You don't want trees that are larger than 20, 30 feet, because whatever you see growing, whether it's grass or a bush or a tree, that's how deep the roots is always as tall as the tree or the plant. So
those roots are going down just as far as you see what above.
Yeah.
And so that's going up underneath the house, and they can cause problems with your plumbing and drainage, and those that's when you have to call Roto-Rooter or AJ Drain, right? We got our guys.
And those roots seem to find the moisture and wrap around pipes and cause a lot of problems.
Yeah. Then you start talking about some real expensive work that has to be done, because now you're pulling out stuff out from underneath the house.
That could happen 20 years later, 15 years later.
And is that often because the tree's roots have actually grown, and you start off, and obviously they're small, and as they expand, anything close to the house can cause big problems like that.
Yeah, you'll see that a lot in South City, where it'll be old clay pipes, the old iron pipes, and it's just easy for those roots to get in to those and bust them up. And
so you've got to send down the scope and figure out what's going on there. Sometimes
that helps. It's a cost of $200 to $400, and that saves the client a lot of money down the road to seek out the exact problem. So that's always a first priority, to go that route.
Okay. Something you can help circumvent if we could just plan this out properly.
Yep.
Again, another reason to bring in an expert like yourself to do this. Now, you talked a little bit about this, and I hadn't realized this too, but you said there's hospitals and big buildings, they do this, and they put the mulch up all the way to the tree, and that causes the tree to die.
Yeah, pay attention when you go to a hospital or a school or and see if that mulch is piled up against the tree base. If it is, it's going to cause that tree to rot in 5 to 10 years. It's supposed to create a volcano type shape that the mulch or the rock does not touch the base of the tree.
Because mulch ultimately can cause. Why does it cause a tree to
It'll
die?
hold moisture, and
Okay.
that moisture, heat, cold, it'll cause that tree to rot at the base over
So
time.
then we were joking earlier, killing me softly, but you're slow. It's a slow way to
Yeah.
just causing. Ultimately, it just withers away, or how does it?
And they probably spent thousands of dollars on those little trees that are going to be big trees, and then that mulch every season piled up against the base of the tree.
Well, it seems like there's a lot to know here, and you better have somebody that really knows what they're doing.
That
How
helps.
much? How much do people spend? What's an average job go for these days? I guess you got
Oh,
anything.
it could be anywhere from simple maintenance and cleanup, around $500 up to $100,000. Average is $500 to $25K.
Okay.
I've got a friend that travels the country. He's kind of a mentor. He's doing big projects, redesigning, using boulders, waterfalls, plants, and those kind of projects get pretty pricey.
Okay. And you talked about, is there a certification or you said a master?
There are
talk about that.
things that you can do. Missouri Botanical Gardens offers a 6-month course to be a master gardener. There's other universities, online classes that you can do. Proper mulch knowledge, proper tree trimming knowledge, proper specifics in landscape to get certified, in a way certified. It's not enforced.
I got you. It's not an official certificate that you
Yeah.
can't do this work unless you have this.
Yeah, they don't do that in landscaping, not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, why mess with all that? Just go to the experts like yourself, because
Sure.
you can come in and say, here with my 20 plus years of experience, we're going to save you a lot of the hassle from doing that. Tell me then, as we finish up, we're getting close. We got about 5 minutes left. How has technology affected the way your business is run?
Technology is sped everything up. I mean, it's not just the landscaping business. You'll see it in every type of business.
Right.
So, and everything's hands-on. Everything's right there. You got it right there so it's fast. Made everything fast.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. People see the work that they want done. They
And that's a plus.
tell right away, and they say, now make it happen. I want it here in 4 hours.
Yeah, it's a plus. But then, I mean, do we want it all to be that fast?
Yeah, because sometimes when you
Takes
rush,
away our patience.
you rush things, you
Yeah,
could implement
sure.
something incorrectly. It could be a minor detail that is a matter of this little shim went underneath and now the thing's leaning the wrong way, and something they won't notice within 3 weeks, but 3 years.
Sure.
They come back and be like, what happened here? Well,
Yep.
let me tell you, can you see this little thing? That was supposed to be removed.
Simple little details. Put that weed barrier behind the stone wall so weeds don't grow through the stones over time. All kinds of little details.
Okay. And as a matter of the technology itself, you're using essentially like an AutoCAD, but it lets people preview.
That's one of the pluses.
Does that really help people then?
Technology really helps communication with the client, because put it in a software design and then they can see what their property will look like enhanced. Yeah.
when it's done.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that done from mapping software, or you go to the house and take pictures, or how do they get that
There's
done?
a couple companies that have designed not only an Apple but also Android, and it's a software that is specific to landscaping. 2-dimensional. They even go further with 3-dimensional, where it gets more specific.
Wow. Okay. Well, tell me then, what is the process? We got a couple more things to talk about here, but if I want to make sure we talk about what is the process? Somebody says, I'm ready to do this. Is this simple as going to your website, calling you direct on your cell phone? What's the easiest way to get you hired to do the work for somebody?
Yeah, they just give us a call. There's a form on the website to give details about the project, or just we call and talk about
contact
it,
us.
and then we schedule a time to come out, look at their needs, and then give them ideas, and start the communication process, and then give them an estimate, and then progresses from there.
And within a few weeks, or even less than that?
Sometimes it can be the same day. Sometimes it'll take a couple of days of scheduling based on their schedule, or how if we're booked 2 weeks or 4 weeks out, I'll use evenings to go do an estimate, and then we could be 1 week booked, we could be 2 months booked. It just depends on how things are flowing.
Well, I'm going to give her a quick look at your website. Lots of good information out there. I'll put this on the wall for everybody to see there. But you can see this is lawnsgardenslandscaping.com. Goes to this URL you've got here, and a lot of great work. Retaining walls, the grotto, sod removal. You just got a lot of great posts here that can help people really understand. But
And we got specific with labor details, material details, total cost of a project, so that they can get an idea of what they're looking at to spend, just a general idea to help them.
Okay, yeah, well, lots of good information out there for everybody to gain. As we finish up here now, we got 2 minutes left, 1.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, sorry. I'm looking
That's
at
a fast half hour.
Has it go quick? I told you, when you know, when you're
Felt like 5 minutes.
you've got your passion, you know what you're talking about. Time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. Tell me, you talk about your specialty though is it the landscaping you really enjoy, because that's the project you get to put together for somebody to really put together the whole.
It's the creation process and then seeing the end result. Got it also from construction in the past. Get to add that experience into the landscaping as well.
Tell me then, last question I got for you here, I think, but tell me a time when you had somebody who was in a tough situation and you said, we're going to take care of this. We're going to go out of our way a little bit, but time you really helped somebody who was in a tough situation.
Can't think of one off the top of my head right now.
Okay. Well, I can tell you, when you were designing some of these projects, it looked like they didn't really have any idea what they were doing. I'm going to put this back up on the wall for everybody over here. But this one in particular, it seems like you kind of went out of your way for this one because...
Well, I'll tell you, the client had the vision of what they wanted. So as they talked about it, we just started getting the materials and started putting the project together. It was 50% the client and 50% me, which is unique.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And that 50% you're offering is a lot, because if they don't have that other 50% to put together, there's just a lot. It's not going to get done. This thing isn't going to turn out right.
Sure.
Okay. Well, as we finish up here now, we've got 30 seconds left. Tell me what's next for Mark for your business. Where's this thing going? Is this thing, you can see this continuing to grow, and is this your passion? You want to do this for the rest of your life?
I don't know where it's going to go, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it while I'm doing it, and I'll see where it's going to go. It depends on who's going to call me, I guess.
Well, with this great looking work that you've done, a lot of stuff we put out there for people to see, we're going to give you your cut out of this so that you have some of this to show off to people, because this is what people need to learn and see and understand about what it takes to be an expert and make things look so good. Because you're really helping the value of the house greatly increase by doing this.
Well, I got to give credit to God. He gave me the gifts of craftsmanship.
There it is. All right, everybody, you're watching the Your Little Castle show. Stay tuned for more. Giddy up.